Welcome to the broadcast, my dear old fruits. I swore that I would never wear linen again, didn't I, my dears? I've got a thing against linen because it creases up so much. The truth is that I had experimented with some linen shirts a few years ago, but they were quite coarse, quite thick and waxy to the feel. It really put me off of them. For life, I thought. But I saw this one in John Lewis the other day, for those of you that are here in the kingdom. John Lewis to a lovely range, and this is a lighter linen. So I've been educated, I'm not as ignorant, and I'm enjoying wearing it. They do quite a few colours, not sponsored. And another brand that are not sponsoring me, but I wanted to share a little something with you, a Lurpak butter. I was raised on Lurpak, and I know it's going to be very divisive. We have anchor butter and clover and all different kinds. I was raised on Lurpak. No butter ever tastes the same to me, or as good as Lurpak. Lurpak butter on a nice ham sandwich, on thick white bread, prepared by Granny with salty ham, absolute heaven. Well, I've been having a lot of butter recently, as you know, my dears, and I've been getting through the Lurpak, but it's an absolute game changer. And as I say this, I'm realising it's probably existed for years, but I never knew that these Lurpak butters now come in a cardboard container, because usually we have them either in foil or in plastic tubs. They have a cardboard container. It's changed my world. It's so much easier to access than the foil wrap things, and it's recyclable, and it makes life easy. And you can even decant butter out of the foil into this and keep reusing it. And I keep it outside of the fridge actually at room temperature, and it's marvellous, just so handy. I like sharing these little domestic queries with you, my dear, as I did with the HG line scale remover, because so many of you told me and got in touch and said that you'd had success. So it gives me a thrill to share the information with you, my dears. You've got to pass it on. Now, to a quick serious matter before we progress to other royal matters. I just wanted to touch on it, and that is in relation to Sonya Massey, which is the case going on in the States. I won't go into great detail about it. I'm sure you all know about it, especially those of you in America. But we sometimes speak about police brutality here on the broadcast when these episodes come up. It certainly exists, that's for sure. Nobody's denying that. But many times it is simply police doing what needs to be done and getting a rough deal and rough accusations due to what needs to be done. That is certainly not denying that police brutality exists and that there are bad actors out there. And we're going through our own situation this week, actually, due to a violent episode at Manchester Airport, which was all caught on camera. Some of it's been revealed on camera. And now we're finding ourselves in a situation where we have large throngs, yet again, of minority, well, I should say ethnic communities here in the kingdom. Not so much minorities anymore, but ethnic communities coming together, mobilising against the police in an unacceptable fashion. People ask all the time, well, what's British values? What values have you got that others haven't got? Well, it's not that. It's not what we see in this sort of circumstance and other similar circumstances, with mob mentalities coming together, shouting Allah Akbar and all this kind of thing. Not mobs demanding that law is processed to their liking. If something rum or underhanded or wrong has gone on, then it will be seen to in due process without the threat of riots and mobs. But over to the States and Sonya Massey, that incident is a stark illustration of abuse of power, and I was left absolutely reeling when I watched the footage that's available. Now, the footage I saw, you don't see her actually getting shot 3 times in the head, and you don't see the precise seconds leading up to it, so I bear that in mind. I always feel that we should be furnished with the full facts before making a judgment. But on the evidence and the footage that I've seen, it is plainly obvious that we are witnessing the cold-blooded murder of a woman who appears rather vulnerable and rather meek and is cowering in terror as a total scumbag, total scum, claims to prevent her from coming near him with boiling water, not by shooting her in the leg or using some other far more humane tactic, as he could have done. He was about 3 times her size. But by raising a gun and shooting her in the head 3 times. No regard for life. I was looking at a zombie, a monster, and he must pay with his life in jail, unless there is some miraculous turn of events that happened in the few milliseconds that I haven't seen in the footage. As I say, we need to be furnished with the full facts. Unless there is something that might excuse his behaviour, but I certainly don't see it and can't imagine it from the footage that I've seen. I'm absolutely disgusted and horrified, and there is no mistake that these monsters tarnish the reputation of very good forces and very good fellow officers. It's a real pity, because the bad ones are the ones you remember, and forces will rightly receive scrutiny this time. Scrutiny for their recruitment practices and their training practices, because what I saw was bloodthirsty recklessness. And it's really, really sad, and my thoughts and prayers are with Sonya, Massey and her loved ones, because it is a complete travesty and an inexcusable failure of the system, a systemic failure. Utterly. Let's try and move on to something more light-hearted. And this gave me a little bit of a grin and some food for thought. And it's the subject of Diana, because some of her old letters have come up for auction. They're letters and gift cards and thank you notes that she had written to the former head housekeeper of her parents when she was a little girl. And her parents were living at Park House on Sandringham Estate, on the estate there. She was living there. Violet Collison, known to the family as Collie, and these letters came up for auction. I've been looking through all of them actually, and it's charming. Her iconic handwriting hits you, of course, and then letter after letter after letter after letter. So many thank you notes, and this was at the height of Diana's fame as the most famous woman on the planet, mega celebrity, supermodel of the world, whatever she was, my dear, Queen of Hearts. At the height of that, letter after every small token, every small gift she received from her former head housekeeper as a child, she would respond to, with double-sided notelets, profuse thanks, as is the way of aristocracy, but profuse thanks. In one of the notes, she receives a handkerchief, and she said, it was exactly what I needed. It was just the thing that I needed at the precise time, and I send you my sincere and profound thanks. It's wonderful. But the point of interest that's being garnered is that one of those letters, I think from the 25th of September 1984, which was 10 days after the birth of Harry, she thanks Collie for a gift, presumably because of the birth, a gift that was sent to Harry, and she notes, William adores his little brother and spends the entire time pouring an endless supply of hugs and kisses over Harry. Doesn't that illustrate to you, my dears, how Harry was showered with love and affection from his brother from day one? This letter is written in week 1, showering him with kisses and fondness. And that is not always the way when a new little bear comes along into the family, a little number 2, one of the same gender. Not always the way, is it? So that speaks volumes. For William, no sibling rivalry, no jealousy, just a warm embrace into the family. And as you might recall Barbara Barnes told Lady Glenconnor that Harry, on the other hand, who she nursed as a child, was born angry. We discussed it recently, didn't we? Born angry. Well, it shows, doesn't it, my dear, that in both brothers' case, William and Harry, a leopard never changes its spots. I forgot to position my brooch, my dear. I was wearing it on the shirt underneath because it's fairly hot today and I didn't think that I'd want to wear a jacket, but I'm doing fine at the moment, so must put that on display. Isn't it wonderful? What did I call that one in Tip Jar Corner? I gave it a name, didn't I? The Teal Confession. That's it. The Teal Confession lies on my heart. But turning to the subject of Harry, A horse of a different safari. There is a documentary airing this evening on ITV regarding the phone hacking case alongside other victims of that hacking. For example, Hugh Grant, they're going to be lining up, saying their piece, tabloids on trial. And Harry has been telling the lady hosting these interviews that the hacking caused paranoia and fear and distrust for Harry back in the day. Well, that could also be down to the wacky-backy Harry, couldn't it? That might exacerbate your paranoia rather than alleviate it during that period. And that paranoia and fear and distrust seems to be dyed in the wool in Harry, doesn't it, my dears? Because he is determined to make his family bear the brunt of those states of mind that he describes. However, he says regarding the royal family, I think everything that's played out has shown people what the truth of the matter is. Well, yes, actually, Harry, it has shown that William was very sensible to settle the matter years ago. Wasn't it a decade or more ago? He settled it a decade ago and donated, was it 1 million? We were told a very large sum of money to Invictus, as far as my memory serves me. It was a large sum of money he donated somewhere, anyway, to a good cause. I'm sure it was Invictus. So yeah, that's what it showed people, Harry. But then he says, for me, the mission continues. But he thinks he's Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is a fan of Catherine's and William's and lines up to applaud her, as we saw at Wimbledon a couple of weeks ago. So that role's already taken, darling. For me, the mission continues, but it has caused part of a rift. And he is telling us what we already knew about the royal family. He was asked whether his determination to fight the tabloids has destroyed the relationship with his family. And Harry says,
yeah, that's certainly a central piece to it. But, you know, that's a hard question to answer, because anything I say about my family results in a torrent of abuse from the press.
Well, Harry, you have just given the press precisely what they want when you could very easily have declined to comment on the entire situation with your family. And here he is again, in the name of authenticity, tottering in and not being able to keep his mouth shut. He was itching, and you can see, when you look at this piece, he was itching to put their name in his mouth yet again. He knows, Harry knows that it feeds the machine, the dragon that he slays. But the boy cannot resist. He thrives on it. Do you sense it? He thrives on it. He is a glutton for drama, which is exactly why he delights in feasting on the histrionics of the Duchess of Sussex. She is a banquet. She is a banquet of histrionics for him to feast upon. Actually, a banquet is too grand. She is a Chinese buffet, all you can eat for £1. Harry continues,
I've made it very clear that this is something that needs to be done. It would be nice if we, you know, did it as a family. I believe again that from a service standpoint, and when you are in a public role, that these are the things that we should be doing for the greater good. But, you know, I'm doing this for my reasons.
And he looks entirely shifty throughout the whole discussion, by the way. And he's got the temerity here to call for family unity. The Duke of Sussex calling for family unity. He's gaslighting. I mean, you couldn't make that up. These cases have dragged the royal family's privacy through the courts. William's settlement, which was a private matter, was revealed. And Harry's allegation about a secret agreement between Buckingham Palace and NGN, News Group newspapers. And by the way, they were denied, these allegations, denied by both of the parties and rejected by a judge as implausible. And let us not forget Mr. Justice Fancourt, who demanded to know why and how drafts of spare and messages between Harry and J.R. Moria were destroyed well after Harry sued in 2019. Mr. Justice Fancourt said that it was troubling that documents and conversations likely containing references to unlawful information gathering had been deleted and asked for efforts to retrieve them. Sneaky. Well, Harry has had wins and losses with all of his cases, hasn't he? But lest we forget, he ended up settling one of them, didn't he, recently, for substantial damages after 4 years of ping-pong in the courts with MGN, instead of pursuing a second trial. Do you remember that? He settled, just like Big Willie did 10 years ago. And he criticises the royal family's approach, and then does the same thing, I ask you. Does it not cross over the White Knight's Auburn mind that the entire family would like nothing more than a comeuppance for the press? Of course they would. Charles loathes the press. He doesn't even bother reading it. Little tip for you there, Harry and Meghan. William can't stand them. But they take their ego out of the equation. It's called maturity. And they compromise, not because they are weak. It's in the name of duty and an understanding of what their role entails. And because they are not wont to be pugnacious and pusillanimous. For example, the agreement that the Wales family came to with the press for access to their children for photographs here and there in exchange for more privacy and understanding between the parties, which has been extremely successful. But Harry's High Court woes and his highfalutin woes are but one of the flies in the anointment. You are finally admitting, Harry, to the world, to generate headlines, what I confirmed long ago, in fact, which is the fact that you are on the outs. I said it a very long time ago. They've washed their hands of you. Yes, the door will always remain slightly ajar because of the fact that you are family and the king's son. It's not as if he won't receive you if you fly over to the kingdom to see him, as you did for his cancer diagnosis. But a 15-minute, half-an-hour visit is all you are going to get. The door is left slightly ajar, not wide open, because you are never to be trusted again. You've blotted your copy. Totally, entirely and utterly. And that's backfired, because you really thought that through your emotional blackmails and your schemes that they would just lie down and surrender and say, oh, anything for Harry and Meghan back into the fold. The kingdom will collapse without them and all her realms. No, it's actually strengthened the kingdom in many ways. Yes, but your numerous other betrayals cut far deeper, actually, Harry. You're making it out at the moment to be this as part of the rift. This incident, this is just one thing, but there are deeper betrayals that you have made. Slagging off all of their loved ones and wives and consorts and other halves, and the history that you have with them all together. And it's not just you, together with your Bonnie and Clyde counterpart. Connie and Snide, folie à deux for the 21st century. His Majesty the King welcomed the ruler of the kingdom of Ashanti in Ghana to Sandringham House. And no, I'm not talking about Meghan. No, it wasn't Adamazi, it was His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II. He is currently in the kingdom as part of his Silver Jubilee celebrations. Many felicitations to you, my dear Royal Majesty. This is a real African royal, not a minor regional leader from the justified agents of Mumu, bestowing paid-for mumbo-jumbo monikers on scammers. The Princess Royal has been in Worcestershire, where she opened the new emergency department at Worcestershire Royal Hospital and visited Kildare Hall. Her Royal Highness toured the new facilities, including the Children's Emergency Department and a mental health suite. She met with dedicated staff and unveiled a plaque to commemorate the occasion, marking the official opening of the new department. And later, Anne opened Kildare Hall in her role as patron of the Three Counties Agricultural Society. Princess Anne also arrived in Paris this week, Gay Paris, ahead of the Olympics in her role as president of the British Olympic Association. and member of the International Olympic Committee. She's there for 12 days of Olympic festivities and duties in France, and she competed herself, as you know, in 1976, so she has form. And she met with Team GB, including flag bearers Helen Glover and Tom Daly. And the adorable Edward Kent has been in Dover visiting the Royal National Lifeboat Institution's newest lifeboat station. Opened in June, the station serves as a hub for the Dover team who work together to save lives and deliver water safety messages and roll out the red carpet for illegal immigrants. Later in Margate, the Duke celebrated British innovation in model making with a tour of Hornby Model Railways, a leading manufacturer in model trains, slot cars and other collectibles. And he was looking very jazzy, wasn't he, in that jazzy tie in a shade of lifeboat orange. Splendid. I enjoyed spending an idle moment with you, and I thank you very much for your company. I look forward to seeing you on the next broadcast. Ta-ra, my dears, and toodle pip.